All right, we'll return to the open meeting. Item 5 today, public comments related to May 7, 2025 agenda items. Do we have any?
No, sir.
No public comments today. Item 6 is our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like pulled for review? If not, I would consider a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
So moved, Marvin Bobo. Second, Mark Wheelis. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item 7 is a presentation on instructional materials selection recommendations, world languages, AP biology, and advanced statistics. Dr. Tinsley.
Thank you. Mrs. Mullen, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and come up to the other podium. This is, we presented to the board this spring request for review of instructional materials. This is another resource that we're looking at for different courses than the previous courses. So we are conducting a presentation on world languages, AP biology, and advanced statistics instructional resources. I'm going to run through this pretty quickly because you've seen some of the process that we follow, but I wanted to bring this forward again because the same process was followed for these instructional materials as the previous that were presented prior. So again, we are following House Bill 1605, which created the new criteria for review of instructional materials. There's a process in place that the district has followed. That list notes here what's included in 1605, that it provides flexibility in the timing of the review of the materials rather than a cycle that has been set forth by the state of Texas in previous years. That notes what TEC code 31.02011, that districts have discretion when selecting instructional materials. So this is just a timeline of what the State Board of Education has put forth. Keep in mind that they do not annually review all instructional materials. During the 2024 cycle, it was the Math K-12, ELAR K-5, and SLAR K-5. The reason we are bringing forth these other materials here is that based on what our current materials are, we do not feel like that they are meeting the needs that we have here in our district in those content and course areas that I provided for you. We followed this is just a comparison of how the process looks different, of how we are conducting this process. And then as we had with the other materials with ARLA, K-5 ARLA, math, and phonics, there was a committee formed that followed this process. It was made up of teachers. And this just notes the steps that were followed, which were the very same as the committee for the other materials. These are the objectives of the work of the Instructional Materials Review and Approval Committee, and Mrs. Mary Mullins led this committee work through teachers involved in the process. So she's going to give you an overview of what was provided and then provide for you what the district is recommending for the instructional materials for those content areas.
Committees that met. We start with gaining clarity around the approval process, so all the committee members are aware of what the process is and final results should be. We also reviewed the new House Bill 1605 requirements and established what Lovejoy ISD instructional philosophy is for these 3 content areas. And then we looked at the rubric and unpacked it so the calibration would be somewhat equivalent. And then we conducted a thorough investigation of the materials. As a reminder, we went through what Lovejoy ISD defines curriculum as. And curriculum is really, first of all, we start with the standards. because we were reviewing AP materials, they have objectives that we must follow that's dictated by the College Board. We reviewed that the standards are what we must teach and what students need to know and understand, and provides a scope of the content with timelines, testing requirements, and it's really a roadmap for learning. Then we talked about what curriculum documents are. Curriculum documents are developed from using the standards and/or the objectives, and it really outlines our scope of our work, and we are able to create these documents based on the district's needs. We include a pacing for teachers, a scope and sequence, the unit planning guides, and any assessments or example assessments they might want to use. It's always based on data from previous years. We look at that to decide what might need additional learning time or less learning time. And then it'll incorporate programs in any resources, but not at the mercy of the program. Finally, then, we come to instructional resources. And it's really a friendly reminder that instructional resources are not our curriculum. Our curriculum is what the state mandates we must teach and our College Board. So instructional resources can be anything from textbooks to software to any of the digital resources that we have. And we talk about that they're tools in their toolbox. So one resource just simply doesn't cover everything you need, and we do have to look at supplemental things. So we can change our instructional materials and adjust over time, especially when standards are changing or if it's not meeting our needs. Our rubrics are quite comprehensive. These 10 criteria are listed here that were on both or all three of our rubrics for AP Bio, Advanced Stats, and for the French and Spanish World Language materials. And here's our timeline. The timeline is pretty wide range simply because 3 different areas were reviewing materials over time. So we started out in March, and that's when we held our information meetings, and we reviewed the things that I just reviewed with you, with them, and distributed the materials, provided them with access that they needed, and then they went back to their campuses and really dove in by using some of the materials, planning with some of the materials to get a really good feel for them. The world languages teachers did request a demo from the vendors, and we did have the vendors present to them virtually. And then finally, we had our last review with the committee, and we came to consensus on the materials that I'm about to recommend. And here they are. Vista Higher Learning is a renowned resource for the world language content areas, and it did stand apart from the other ones that we looked at, both Spanish levels 1 through 3 and French levels 1 through 3. That was their resource that they preferred. For the AP Biology, it was BFW, Bedford, Freeman, and Worth. And then finally, for Advanced Statistics, they also favored Bedford, Freeman, and Worth for statistics, probability, and application. Any questions for me?
I'm not sure if you'll know this or not, but why does the Spanish cost so much more than the French cost?
Yeah, we have many more students in Spanish, so it's a license per student, and that's why. French program is growing, but I think of Spanish almost as a core content area because we have so many students that take Spanish.
Are we using our educational allotment to pay for these like we did the others?
Correct, yes. So we will complete the community review window. It ends this week, and we will, if there are any feedback that might impact some changes here, we would bring that back to you at the May 21st, May 19th board meeting. And if, at that time, we will be bringing forth consideration for approval.
Thank you very much. All right, item 8, 9, and 10, we have not received the returns, so we will not be able to take action on those. Those will be moved to our regular session of the next meeting. So 8, 9, and 10 would be tabled, and because there's nothing to act on. So I don't know if we need a motion or second, but could I get one?
I move that we table those till the next meeting.
Second. Motion Marvin Bobo, second Jeff Wood. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right, next up is a presentation, third-party investigation findings. Ms. Cordell.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. Board, on March 7th, I sent a letter to Lovejoy parents addressing concerns that were brought forward regarding the Willow Springs Middle School art teacher and cheer sponsor. As you will recall, the teacher was placed on leave the same day that I met with the affected family, and a third-party investigation was initiated. This was a unique situation that received a high level of local and national media attention, but no formal grievance was filed. Due to the breadth of the allegations, the legal implications of the allegations, and the nature of the allegations, the district retained a third-party independent investigator to ensure thorough review of all allegations was conducted. Scott Cummings was selected as the independent investigator. Mr. Cummings is here this morning to report the findings of his investigation. Because of the high level of public concern and interest in this matter, we wanted to be as transparent as possible with the outcome of this investigation with you, the board, and with our community. Mr. Cummings will share his background, credentials, and then take you through the executive summary of the investigation.
Good morning. My name is Scott Cummings. I am an attorney with the law firm of Adams, Lynch & Lofton, which is located in Grapevine, Texas. Adams, Lynch & Lofton has a practice that focuses on investigations on behalf of school districts, college districts, private schools, cities, counties, and municipalities. I've been with the law firm of Adams, Lynch & Lofton for 13 years working on investigations such as the one that we were hired to conduct on behalf of Lovejoy ISD. I've been licensed as an attorney since 1995, and prior to being licensed as an attorney, worked as a private investigator. Nothing too all-fired exciting, mostly doing background checks on high-dollar life insurance applicants. But I've been doing background work and investigation work since the late 1980s. In addition to being a licensed attorney with over a decade of experience in conducting investigations on behalf of school districts, I've also completed the Cornell University certificate in employee relations and investigations. So we at Adams, Lynch & Lofton take very seriously the mandate that we receive to conduct investigations, particularly when they're done on behalf of school districts such as Lovejoy ISD. I want to make it clear that our retention by Lovejoy ISD was to conduct an outside third-party investigation. We do not represent Lovejoy ISD for any other purpose, nor do we have any legal representation for either the complainants or the respondents in this matter. So we can truly be a neutral third-party investigator as the district intended. I'm happy now to present the findings from my report. I'll begin with a summary of the issues prompting investigation. Adams, Lynch & Lofton was retained by the Lovejoy Independent School District to investigate complaints that were made to Lovejoy ISD concerning a 7th grade art teacher, Brittany Stroud, who teaches at Willow Springs Middle School. Stroud is in her first year at Willow Springs Middle School and her first year teaching at any school in the district. Adams, Lynch & Lofton was asked to meet with the complainants and investigate the complaints they had against Stroud. The complainants asserted several specific complaints regarding particular incidents and actions, and one broad general complaint concerning Stroud. Each of the complaints are addressed herein. Adams, Lynch & Lofton has been asked to prepare an executive summary report of the investigation findings that sets forth its findings on each of the complaints asserted by the complainants, and a copy of that report has been provided to the board. During the course of the investigation, 23 witnesses, including the complainants and respondent, were interviewed, either in person, over the telephone, or via Zoom. The complainants and respondent were both represented by counsel, and their counsel was present at their respective interviews. Written statements from minor students in the 7th period Art 1 class at Willow Springs Middle School were also reviewed. The investigation also included a review of a voluminous set of documents, screenshots, emails, and other materials that shed light on the background facts and that support the findings contained in this executive summary report. I do want to make note of what may be described as a partial withdrawal of the complaint. During the follow-up interview with one of the adult complainants, that complainant stated that, quote, none of this was about the teacher, and all she wanted was for, quote, the principal to pay attention. In subsequent correspondence from the attorney for the complainants, that position was reiterated with the statement, quote, from day one, the issue has been with how campus leadership chose to address or not address the concerns brought forward by the complainants. The correspondence also noted that these concerns were shared not to place blame, but to inform the campus in hopes of oversight that would support this new teacher in a constructive and collaborative way. While not an express withdrawal of many of the specific complaints alleged by the complainants against Stroud, the statements of one of the adult complainants and the subsequent correspondence from the complainants' counsel would support an inference that the specific complaints against Ms. Stroud have been withdrawn. The parent complainant also indicated in her follow-up interview that she sees issues with respect to some of what the minor complainant has described and conceded that some of what the minor complainant described may not be accurate. During their initial interview and in statements to Willow Springs Middle School administration and the Lovejoy ISD superintendent, the complainants had indicated their desire that Stroud's contract not be renewed after this school year. Further, they were well aware that Stroud was placed on administrative leave and removed from the classroom as a result of their actions. It is difficult to reconcile those statements and actions with their current position that this was really only about informing the campus, quote, in hopes of oversight that would support this new teacher in a constructive and collaborative way. I'll present now the executive summary of the findings that we made. First, there is insufficient evidence to support a finding that any action by Stroud complained of by the complainants or reviewed as a part of this Adams, Lynch, and Lofton investigation rose to the level of a violation of Lovejoy ISD board policies. Second, there is sufficient evidence to support a finding that a portion of a song with explicit lyrics was played during an art class at Willow Springs Middle School early in the fall 2024 term. The music was played while students were working on an art project. The song was played from a Spotify list that had been compiled based on student submissions, and although the Spotify title indicated that it was the clean version of the song, the explicit version of the song played. Witnesses indicate that Stroud immediately turned off the music after the explicit lyrics were played, that the song was not played again, and that subsequently Stroud moved to using instrumental music instead of the song list submitted by the students for future project work during class time. There is sufficient evidence to support a finding that the playing of a song with explicit lyrics was an inadvertent error that was not repeated, and from which a new teacher learned an important lesson concerning relying on the music provider's indication that the song was the clean version. There is insufficient evidence to support a finding that the one-time playing of a song with an explicit lyric rose to the level of a violation of any Lovejoy ISD board policy, or is an issue requiring further corrective action or discipline. The evidence demonstrates that immediate steps were taken by Stroud when the song played, and that subsequent steps were also taken by Stroud after the incident to make sure that it was not repeated. There is no evidence to support the complaint of the minor complainant that multiple songs with explicit lyrics were played over multiple days in the art class. There is no evidence to support a complaint that Stroud had unprofessional and inappropriate lesson plans. All of Stroud's lesson plans and the curriculum for her Art 1 class were developed in consultation with and approved by the K-12 visual art director for Lovejoy ISD. Because Ms. Stroud is a first-year teacher, the art director reviewed all of her lesson plans and worked with her directly in developing them. There is no evidence to support a complaint that Stroud showed inappropriate images to the Art 1 classes at Willow Springs Middle School. The art director approved images for use in the Art 1 classes and has reviewed the images complained of by the complainants and indicated that he does not find them to be age inappropriate, nor does he find the use of the images to be unprofessional or outside the curriculum and lesson plans for Art 1 at Willow Springs Middle School. Some of the images complained of were taken from educator websites used by art teachers, and other images were selected based on their particular use of colors, negative space, sharp edges, and lettering. There is also no evidence to support the minor complainant's allegation that Stroud showed pictures of her apartment to the 7th period Art 1 class that included an image of an anime figurine with exposed genitalia. There is no evidence to support a complaint that Stroud retaliated against the minor complainant, either through lower grades or additional discipline in the Art 1 class. In fact, the evidence supports a finding that the minor complainant was not treated unfairly or singled out for extra discipline in either the Art 1 class or in cheerleading. The evidence supports a finding that the minor complainant was given proper redirection and discipline in response to actions by the minor complainant. Several statements by the minor complainant regarding specific interactions with Stroud and regarding specific events were not supported by other witnesses, and in some instances were directly contradicted by those witnesses. Further, some of the descriptions of events by the minor complainant appear to have been embellished and exaggerated, if not completely made up. There is also no evidence that the minor complainant was singled out in cheerleading or that Stroud targeted and picked on the minor complainant in cheerleading. Next, there is no evidence to support a complaint that the minor complainant was targeted by Stroud or by Willow Springs Middle School administration because of any complaints made by the adult complainants. And finally, there is no evidence to support an allegation that the complainants' issues were ignored, dismissed, and not taken seriously by Lovejoy ISD. There is no evidence to support the complainants' allegations that Willow Springs Middle School administrators were dishonest in their description of certain events or misleading in their description of coaches being present during the cheerleading class period. There is no evidence to support the complainant's allegation that the Willow Springs Middle School principal and assistant principal have been targeting the minor complainant for extra oversight or monitoring. The next section I'd like to deal with is other issues that came up during the investigation. During the interview of the minor complainant noted that Stroud was, quote, not a Christian, close quote, and asserted that Stroud had said to the minor complainant on their very first interaction that she, quote, hated Christmas, close quote, and, quote, hated Easter, close quote. These statements do not appear to be credible, and there is no evidence that Stroud and the minor complainant ever discussed Stroud's religious views, nor is there any evidence that Stroud ever discussed her religious views with any student at Willow Springs Middle School. The minor complainant made similar allegations to others concerning Stroud's religious views, including Willow Springs Middle School administrators. A teacher's religious views, whatever they may be, are not an appropriate subject for complaint or appropriate motivation for bringing other complaints. The fact that this was even raised is a serious concern and raises serious questions about the true motivation for the complaints. In addition to the concerns regarding religious motivation, the fact that Stroud also assists with cheerleading may play a role in the motivation behind the complaints made. Many of the minor complainants' allegations of being singled out involved cheerleading. In addition, many of the witnesses interviewed expressed their belief that this was really about cheerleading, and that the complaints about the art class were a convenient way of going after Stroud for her involvement in cheerleading. In addition, further motivation may arise from the fact that one of the adult complainants seemed personally aggrieved that Stroud was awarded a Teacher of the Month recognition and brought it up on multiple occasions in both the initial interview and follow-up interview, as if the recognition was a personal insult to the complainant. Although not technically part of their complaint, the complainants noted what they called disturbing social media on the part of Stroud. There are clear First Amendment issues that arise with respect to any teacher's social media if a complaint is made about a teacher's social media. In this case, the social media sites in question are actually not Stroud's current active social media. Instead, they involve a pair of sites created for a college art course that Stroud was a student in several years ago. The sites were both created to post a professional art portfolio project as required by the syllabus for the college course. The sites, a dedicated website and an Instagram site specifically set up to post the professional portfolio, had not been active for several years until the complainants weaponized them. The project was on horror, and the sites showed photographs and images that were, 1, part of Stroud's course project, 2, a part of and required by the course syllabus, including the requirement that they be posted online as a professional portfolio, and 3, for which Stroud received a course grade. To call them Stroud's social media is stretching the truth almost to a point of being unrecognizable. The suggestion that these images are from Stroud's current active social media is demonstrably false. It is also important to note that Stroud students were never told of the project or the sites, never shown the sites, never directed to the sites, nor were the sites even mentioned in passing to the students. The only reason any student has seen these images is because the complainants circulated the images and photographs from those sites and then suggested they were Stroud's active social media. It is apparent from even a cursory review of online material that other individuals were provided with the information the complainants found and created a social media firestorm for their own personal and political purposes. Witnesses indicate this went so far as a criminal record of an individual with a similar name to Stroud being circulated by unknown individuals as if it was Stroud. Some of these acts may rise to the level of defamation and slander of Stroud. The complainants claim they never intended this to occur or for this to be about the teacher. However, whether they intended it or not, their actions in distributing the pictures and images led to an online campaign by others of what can reasonably be described as a targeted campaign of character assassination based on half-truths, anonymous complaints, and outright falsehoods. This campaign fostered a lynch mob mentality on social media when it came to this teacher. In conclusion, the evidence does not support any findings sustained as a violation of Lovejoy ISD board policy with respect to any of the complaints against Stroud. I appreciate the opportunity to present this report on behalf of Adams, Lynch, and Lofton and to present our findings to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that information. We're adjourned.